have the Wokings with us, and of course, we are very happy to see that Jakob Spangenberg is also with us, and we are tremendously interested in what he's going to say to us. His talk is going to talk about trust takes time. That's an interesting start. Please, Jakob, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. To link up to your previous discussion about dogs, I have a real dog just beside me, and when my wife comes back, I need to let him out of the room. So if something strange is happening, it's because of that. So nice being here with you. And my name is Jakob Spangenberg, and I'm currently the mayor of how should I say, mid-size Swedish municipality, roughly 65 kilometers east of Uppsala. Maybe you've been to Uppsala, many of you. It's on the Baltic Sea. It's a municipality with 22,000 inhabitants. And I'm the elected mayor, and I've been that for almost more than 15 years. This is my 16th year, so consecutive. So I've been in the business for quite some time. I've also been working with Katarina, who managed our regional council for a number of years, not as a politician, but as a qualified manager. So I'm happy to meet you again, Katarina.
Yes, the same, I think.
Thank you. And I have a small presentation that I want you to browse through for approximately 20-25 minutes. And I hope also that you will either interrupt me for some clarification during my small speech, or otherwise you can always raise questions afterwards. So I will start now, I hope. Sorry. Let me go back. I do this too many times a day, actually. Now I'm a bit confused. Can you see something right now?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
So then I will try to. Do you see a full page now?
No.
You don't.
We see the small pictures to the left also.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'll do it once again, then we'll see what happens. Otherwise we'll.
I mean, it's all right also if we see.
Yeah.
No,
What about-
fine.
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 Okay, great. So my major topic here is really to give you an introduction to a very, very long political process in Sweden relating to nuclear waste management. And I will give you a very brief introduction to that. Oh, sorry, why doesn't it happen now? I'm sorry, I have to go start again. Strange. We were talking about what about, did it change?
Yes. Now we see also the small pictures to the left.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we need to keep it that way.
Yeah, that doesn't
It's
matter. It's
I'm sorry
okay.
for that.
It's
So
okay.
Switch to bildspel. Can't you do that?
Yeah, but the thing is that. Okay.
Oh, but it's all right like that, Jakob.
I think we
Go
can
on.
continue
Yes.
with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a kind of map of our municipality, and you can see that we are on the shores of the Baltic with the major archipelago outside our municipality, and it is fairly traditional in the sense that in industry and agriculture, forestry are the major sort of lines of business. plus of course the nuclear industry
And tourism.
and tourism, of course. Yeah. Let me see now. We have at present nuclear facilities in our municipality. There is a nuclear power plant with 3 reactors that were commissioned during the early 80s, and they are the most recent. The most recent reactor to be commissioned was commissioned in '86, and it's the biggest of the 6 Swedish reactors at the moment. And during the 80s, there was also a final repository for short-lived radioactive waste. It was commissioned in 1988, and it's one of the first of its kinds in the world. Actually, it's for low and intermediate waste, industrial waste, but also waste, from hospitals and X-ray facilities and things like that. And also the industry applied for an extension of this. We'll come back to that with the doubling in size of this. The construction has not started yet. And in 2009, after a very long process of dealing with the municipalities, also a lot of how should I put it, geological examination of the site. The site was 2 different sites in Sweden. Forsmark, or our municipality, was selected in 2009 to be the place where the industry wanted to construct this repository for spent high-level waste nuclear fuel, which is, by the way, one of the world's most dangerous environmental hazards. It has the waste, the potential in terms of dangerous radiation is extremely high, and it also takes a long time until the waste is radioactive. The radiation has disappeared. It's even more than 100,000 years. So the perspectives, time frames and perspectives are extremely long. The site was selected in 2009, and the industry filed an application to the central government, which is enacted in our Nuclear Safety Act, that if you want to construct something like this, you need to hand in an application to the central government. Regeringen in Swedish. Sometimes it goes to central government or the cabinet. The Minister of Environment is actually in charge of the process. And in Sweden, we have a system for dealing with the radioactive waste that differs substantially to the UK. I know a little bit about your system, or rather lack of system, I'm sorry to say. We have the nuclear power plants, and they produce, of course, radioactive waste. And this waste is transported by a specially constructed ship to an interim storage for spent nuclear fuel. In this interim storage, the fuel is supposed to stay for not less than 30 years, because of the heat that the spent fuel actually releases. It needs to cool down, and it's cooling in big water pools, which actually protects the environment from this very dangerous radioactive activity. We have also low and intermediate level waste coming from the industry, as well as medical care industry and research, and goes now already to the final repository that I mentioned earlier on. And what is currently in the pipeline is to construct a final repository for the spent nuclear fuel as well, as an extension of the active final repository for low and intermediate level waste. This is, of course, a very, very, how should I put it, difficult issue for not only the governments worldwide to deal with, but also to the local communities that might be involved in a process like this. And I'm sorry to say that so far it's only Sweden and Finland that has reached at this stage where you have a method that is based on science and also on trials of various kinds, and also involving the local communities to be to come to the fact that we accept also the construction of this kind of very difficult and also to keep this kind of dangerous waste within the borders of our municipalities. As you can see, from the timeline to the left, this process has been ongoing for a very long period of time. It started during the beginning of the 80s, almost 40 years ago, and with the construction of the final repository of short-lived radioactive waste that is already in operation. And in '95, we accepted a feasibility study for this final big major repository. And the municipality in 2001 accepted site investigations. And 2009 SKB, or the industry selected Forsmark, I mentioned that earlier on. And in 2011, the industry SKB, the Swedish, what do you call it, nuclear waste company or something like that, which is owned by the industry. They handed in an application to construct this final repository. And also in 2014, the SKB handed in an application to extend the final repository. And until 2020, the municipality enacted in the Nuclear Safety Act, there is a possibility for the municipality or the local council to also say no. We have the right of veto to say that we are not interested in this construction or not. So until 2020, for more than 25 years, the industry didn't know whether the council would say yes or no. But we said yes in a vote with a large majority during the year of 2020, which was a very important milestone for this project. And also in 21, we agreed to the extension of this present other repository that is in operation. And in December 21, the Swedish government gives the approval to the extension of the repository for short-lived waste. And on the 27th of January this year, the Swedish government gave the approval for the construction of a repository for spent nuclear fuel, which was a very, very big, major decision. One of the most difficult questions or issues that the government has been dealing with for so many years. And the process is not ready with this because during 23, the Land and Environmental Court is expected to decide on the final conditions for the repository. And the site, it looks like this from the land side, so to speak. The sea is just outside. This is the what you call it, overground facilities, and this shows the underground part, which is supposed to be drilled and excavated out of the bedrock, the granite bedrock, more than 500 meters down deep. I wanted also to mention that less than 350 kilometers eastwards from us in Finland, they are also constructing the same type, with the same method, and also in the same type of bedrock, a similar repository, which is quite interesting. So Sweden and Finland are sort of pioneering this process. The idea is to put the spent nuclear fuel and put it in copper canisters that are supposed to be welded in a specially developed kind of technology, and then put into the bedrock. You can see the bedrock with here they're drilling a hole, putting in the copper canister, which includes the spent nuclear fuel, down into the bedrock, and then cover this with bentonite clay, which is a clay that is extremely, I think it's in English, hygroscopic or something. It's extremely sensitive to any kind of humidity, regardless of how small it is actually. So the idea is that this bentonite clay is supposed to take care of any kind of water or humidity inside this repository, so any possible radiation will not move out of the bedrock. So there are three what you call it, barriers. One is the copper canister. Secondly, we're talking about the bentonite clay, and thirdly, the bedrock, 500 meters down. And this is the final repository for the short-lived radioactive waste. This is the present repository that is already constructed. It's roughly on 50 meters down in the bedrock under sea level. And here is the extension that they are going to construct as soon as possible, because it's necessary. I also have a flow chart or whatever relating to the formalities of the decision making, but I'm not going to take you through that. But the most important thing here is that there are two levels, actually, three different major stakeholders in this process. One is, of course, the industry that has filed the application, including also developed a method that is scientifically tested. Secondly, it's the municipality that is involved with the right of veto that I earlier mentioned. But and finally, of course, the national government that makes the decision. And there's also, on behalf of the national government, you have the national regulator, which is the Swedish Authority for Radiation Safety, or something like that, SSM. The difference between our process and the process in many other countries is that there is no regional level, like in Germany, for instance, the Bundesländer, or in the US, the states, or in Japan, the prefectures, that is at all involved in this process, which makes it much easier because also for us as local representatives to maneuver in this very difficult environment, to say the least. And our main focus has been to be spokespersons for the local community, our 22,000 inhabitants, of course, as being elected officials on their behalf, so to speak. And also that we have no, let's say, regional councillors or anything like that that can interfere in our own local decision making and processes, which has been a key to success, I would say. These are some other features that might be important compared to any other country, at least outside Scandinavia. We're sparsely populated. Our self-governance, the degree of self-governance in Swedish municipalities is, as far as I understand it, extremely high. Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark have a special tradition relating to history and traditions in this issue. I know a little bit about your system in the UK, where Whitehall is deciding so much more than what they do in Stockholm, I would say. This means that such a difficult issue, as I see it anyway, such a difficult issue and controversial issue as we have been working with the spent nuclear fuel repository, it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier or less complicated because the inhabitants in our municipality, they're quite used to deal with local politicians. They understand that they can reach us easily, but we have also a huge responsibility that comes with this high degree of self-governance that I think is appreciated amongst the local population. We have a long tradition of openness and transparency that exists, of course, in many countries, but it contributes to this process success. And also, which is, I think, extremely different compared to at least Southern Europe. The Finns are excelling in this authorities trust, but Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes, they come a little bit after the Finns, but we follow the Finns in this respect. But that means also that that it's easier to continue with this type of difficult and controversial process. I often try to, and predictability and in this process has also been paramount to the success so far. I try as much as possible to illustrate this with a small box. It could be Pandora's box or whatever. But inside this box contains a few important features of our process so far. The voluntary basis, it's based on voluntarism from day one. We can, at any given time, we could have said goodbye to the industry or the national level. But we have been working with this on a voluntary basis. That has been important. The knowledge and awareness, I mentioned also a little bit about that earlier, but we have spent a lot of work trying to be on top of the process and understand it as much as possible as lay people, not as experts, but we have trusted the experts. They have given us good knowledge about what is dangerous, what is important to take care of from the local perspective. Openness and transparency, I mentioned. The industry has been very, very cooperative. It took some time for them to understand that we had huge demands for this openness. But as far as we understand it, we have had a very close and good cooperation with them, and we have understood each other's roles. The financing of our own activities. We have received substantial funding from the Nuclear Waste Fund to be able to work and employ people to work with this. So it has not interfered with the local welfare financing, so to speak. But the most important thing here is that the roles are extremely clearly defined in the in the nuclear waste in all of the legislation and the present acts. It has not always been easy because there has also been interests from some groups to try to interfere in this, and they had wanted us, for instance, to have very, very clear views on difficult technical issues that we have not we are not competent enough to work with, and to it's not for us to, for instance, have an idea about corrosion problems, for instance, or things like that. It's for the experts, and we have been very concerned with keeping our own role in this process. We have made some statements. We want to be active. We want to know about the conditions for permission. And of course, also the issue of openness and transparency has been very important. We have been working a lot with information to the local stakeholders and the inhabitants in the municipality. And as I mentioned, we have received funding for that. And it is the information relating to our own municipal role and challenges. We are not conveying or relaying messages from the industry, but we are relaying important issues and questions on behalf of the population. And this is almost my last slide. We want lessons learned. We have to be persistent. Financing is necessary both for the waste management, of course, and for our work. It's important with the participation from NGOs, especially environmental groups that have been very critical to the process. They have also contributed to a better quality. Defined roles, voluntarism, openness and transparency, and also cooperation between two municipalities. The other municipality, Oskarshamn, is the host community for this intermediate waste repository that I mentioned before. So that was that. I'm finished.
You're finished. Oh, thank you very much, and we give you a big hand for this.
Thank you.
And we open up for questions, of course. Please ask questions. Yes, Michael.
Well, where to start? That was an excellent presentation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. My first question really would be, you mentioned it took a long while to persuade your municipality to support the proposals. I may have missed it. It wasn't clear to me whether it was the elected members of the municipality who made the decision, or was it put out to a referendum of all citizens on the electoral roll?
No, it was the municipal council of 49 councillors that made the decision with the vote. We took a vote, and it was 39-9, and one abstained, I think. We had at one stage, a couple of years before, I think it was 2018, a decision and an idea that we wanted to have a referendum, but for good reasons, we decided not to hold it. It takes too long to explain why, but and we have not received any criticism from the local population at all, because many people have on the other hand told us that this is a very difficult question. It's impossible for me as an ordinary citizen, so to speak, to take a stand and to understand this very difficult process. So we have we are confident that you can do it on behalf of us, so to speak.
Thank you.
Interesting. You just stay.
Yeah. Okay. How big is the repository? Today we have 6 nuclear plants in Sweden. Can we extend that to 10 or 12 without any problem?
No, the plans are to construct a repository for the present nuclear or reactor program, including the 6, and as you're aware, there are 6 that have been closed, but they have also produced a lot of waste that is it's not finally taken care of. So the idea is to construct this for 12,000 tons of this waste, which is impossible to understand how big or how small or how dangerous it is. But as I mentioned, it's extremely dangerous unless you know what you're doing with it. And it's not the present process and application does not include bigger volumes at the moment. So it will need a new process of its own, so to speak.
Okay, so we can stop with 6 reactors as far as it is today then.
I understand it, so yes.
Thank you.
Peter.
Yes, thank you. That's nice to hear about the future in Sweden. And also, I saw in your slides that Oskarshamn, they have to say yes or no. It's not clear what their opinion is. The next question is, what is your opinion about the mini nuclear technology to future plants?
Oskarshamn has given their taken their veto vote as well, and they have said yes to their part of this program or process. When it comes to nuclear reactors and technology, I'm honestly not the person to ask these questions. There are so many discussions and different ideas and so on. They're talking about generation 4 and they are talking about new build already with old technology. But our new Minister of Energy always says, show me the money. And it's extremely expensive, and it's a lot less expensive and more profitable to invest in solar and wind at the moment. But I think both you and I know that we also need something to stabilize the system when it's not windy or sunny. And unfortunately, we have hydro in Sweden, which is very important. But we'll see if anyone wants to invest. And currently, the prices of energy are so extremely volatile as we have seen it. So you never know. I often meet high-ranking officials in Vattenfall, and they're just shaking their heads in terms of new investment or new build, because it's much more profitable for them to invest in other types. I think also new what you call hydrogen gas production, which will be able to contain electricity from sun and wind and so on without using batteries, might be something. But I honestly don't know. We'll see.
Thank you.
Kajsa, please.
Okay. Yes, you hear me. Thank you very much, Jakob. And I think one thing that has been so successful is that you have been the mayor for such a long time. There has been a continuity, and you have shown that you believe in this very big investigation. And it's so fantastic that the whole population, or almost the whole population, is so positive to this very dangerous, extremely dangerous project, and difficult, and still they are positive to it. But I think it also has to do that this means more jobs. It's a flourishing municipality outside Uppsala, the most flourishing municipality, and it's due to this project, and that, due to your mayorship.
Thank you very much. I just need to let the dog out.
Right. Oh, these dogs.
So, sorry for that.
That's all right.
Thank you for the nice words. But there is also often a misconception about our municipality, because we have the lowest rate of unemployment in Sweden, and we have had it for many, many years. So it's not that we are begging for this in terms of getting new employment opportunities. Of course, this is good not only for Östhammar but also for Uppsala and other neighboring municipalities in the whole region. But I think one of the biggest challenges to this process in the future will be the recruitment of new competence, because we are talking about people building underground, drilling. It's like mining, actually, except that you don't mine for anything, just excavating, and also radiation expertise and all these kind of things. So and our municipality is a rural municipality. We have limited capacity to build a lot of new houses and so on, which makes it's a challenge for all of us. It will be more of an oil platform economy for some time, I think, where people fly in and fly out, especially during the construction time. But then when it's commissioned to start, I think things will change also.
More questions? Yes, Keith. Oh, you have.
Yes.
Yeah,
well, Jakob, very interesting. I was involved in putting together and running a radioactive waste management company in the UK in the early 80s. By the time we got into 91, 92, we just decided this was never going to happen in the UK. So we wound it up again. But at that time, we were doing studies in Cumbria in particular, which I think is still the favoured UK option. What I think is really interesting with you is that you've got the local municipality right at the heart of this. In the UK, I think the Nuclear Regulatory Authority is still a very highly respected authority, but winning over hearts and minds, particularly locally in Cumbria, but more widely, is what just keeps us bogged down here from not being able to make a decision. I think since some of those studies that we did in the early 80s, numerous other studies have been done, tens of millions of pounds have been spent on them. I don't sense we're any nearer a solution. Now, maybe you will set a path that others can follow, but I don't see that we will ever get the decision being made by the municipality. That is a hard part of our challenge, I think.
Thank you. I've actually had the privilege to meet people from Cumbria. They have visited us on at least 2 occasions, I think. And not long ago, in December or January, I don't remember, I participated in a panel in London electronically, and with basically telling them the same story that I've just told you. And of course, there are huge differences in terms of local government traditions, for good and for bad. I'm not really assessing it, but for us, it has been very important. But another thing that has been extremely a key to this success so far is that we had very early during the 80s, 81 or 82 or something, a legislation put in place. Firstly, it was polluters pays principle. The industry had the obligation to research in this, and it's a fairly sophisticated program that the industry needs to show every 3 years that they have actually made some progress, and the central government says yes or no to that if they are allowed to continue with the research and the process and so on. And that has been a condition to also hold licenses to run the nuclear reactors. So it has been a huge pressure on the industry to actually work with this very difficult issue. And also the fact that it was financed. So, you know, something like 5 cents or something per kilowatt hour has been banked into a huge fund that contains today something like 7 or 8 billion euros that can be used for this work. And that has been very important also.
More questions? Can't see any coming up. Perhaps Michael? No?
Well, I could have several more really. I mean,
Yeah.
There was a comment about not needing to grow jobs because you're in an area of full employment. But I wonder, there must have been something to help swing the population behind such a controversial project, and presumably it is related to the amount of economic activity that this drives within your municipality. Otherwise, what incentive have people got to welcome it rather than oppose it? I suppose the other thing that's in my mind is Sweden might well be the very first European country to be developing a sense of the full cost of nuclear power, because in all the other, when we've had discussions about this in the past with other speakers, nobody has ever got to the bottom of the complete decommissioning costs for nuclear power stations. And it sounds like Sweden is ahead of the curve and actually starting to understand what those costs actually are. So I'm left wondering what that does for the overall economics of nuclear power versus other sources.
I think both questions are very relevant and important. At first, I think that when the municipality entered into this process as early as '95, there was nothing like any monetary incentive or anything like that. I think we have to also respect the fact that it's a nuclear municipality. There is a lot of experience and knowledge and information based on the fact that so many people are working on the plant. And that makes it easier, but it could also be counterproductive for the industry and for the application if they had only selected Forsmark or the municipality based on that ground. It must also hold to all the scientific challenges, of course. Otherwise, it would have been counterproductive. But on the other, what happened in 2007 was that me and my colleague in the other municipality, we took an initiative where we wrote an open letter to the industry, and we told them that in case you want if I shorten the story and go directly to the facts, if you want us on in the continuation of this process, you have to realize that we need some kind of compensation. So after a long negotiation and discussion with the industry, we agreed on an added values program, which is fairly sophisticated in the construction. That said that once the government has said yes, the industry will release the bulk of this added values program, where they are supposed to finance things like development of competence, some minor infrastructure, support to the local municipalities, and in terms of cultural development, as sort of minor kind of support, but something that all citizens will sort of agree to and think is a good idea. So this added values program has been, of course, something that has increased the support for the repository, the construction of the repository, for the case, so to speak. But I wouldn't say it has been it has not been the thing, so to speak, for this. And then, secondly, the commissioning costs. Of course, this is included in the total calculation for the profit level, or return on investment rather, when you construct and you construct a new reactor, but this has been taken care of, as far as I understand it, at least, by the fact that they need to pay constantly to the nuclear waste fund a certain fee. So it's sort of balanced on a day-to-day basis. It's nothing that they have as a big depth for the future, but it's something that it's paid for constantly. Sorry, I just need to do something with the dog. Continue, please.
All right. That's interesting.
He was eating up some paper, sorry. Okay.
All right.
Not important. It was from the waste basket.
Peter, you have your hand, raised your hand.
Which Peter?
Peter Andlin.
Mm.
No?
No.
I think
No.
it's an old hand.
It's an old hand. All right. More questions?
Mm.
Michael, you can.
Are we allowed to ask how worried you are about what's happening across the other side of the Baltic Sea, specifically at Chernobyl at the moment, and what's been reported today?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I of course I'm shocked and think it's horrible, but I have no clue about the consequences. I'm sorry to say, but no, it's awful. You know that this horrible accident was actually detected here at our nuclear power plant, which is quite an interesting. It was very, very interesting, because at that time, a personal remembrance is that my father he was working and staying in Jakarta in Indonesia, and he called us very early in the morning because he had heard on the BBC that this had happened in Sweden before we even knew about it.
Oh, right.
It's incredible. BBC is fantastic. Shortwave at that time.
Yeah. And we thought it was in Sweden.
Yeah, I know.
From the beginning.
Yeah, we're shocked. We don't know really what to do.
But there is a fascinating issue that we have to store this for 100,000 years.
Yes, definitely.
And that's a very, very long time. And in these days, we only think of one day or a year. And how to communicate to humans or beings in 100,000 years, how to handle with this, what it is and how to handle it. That's a really interesting and complicated question.
Definitely a very challenging issue, and that is something that people are researching about and discussing a lot. And I'm sorry to say, no one has a straightforward answer, but no one. I prefer that challenge compared to nuclear waste being loose, so to speak. And it's better to keep it contained somewhere, at least where we know a little bit more about it, where it is.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Jakob, for a very interesting and fascinating presentation, and we give you a hand once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Oh, the same to you. Interesting.
Bye.
And I don't know if Peter and Katarina, they want to add something.
No, it's just wonderful to listen to this. And it's amazing we're doing something now that will have impact in 100,000 years. What about employment today in the range of 100,000 years?
And two ice ages, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
I
horrible.
guess it might even reach the UK. If it still exists, thinking about Scotland.
All right.
If we get a new ice age, perhaps that will solve our nuclear fuel problem altogether.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mm.
So I say goodbye to you now.
Thank you. Yeah.
Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
thanks
Thank you.
again.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
What a great
And
guy.
I don't know if anyone wants to say something or add something. I don't see any hand. No.